دریک و بدون شک در کنار شما و مردم شما خواهم بود تا زمانی که ایران دوباره یک ملت آزاد شود.
I am from the great state of Wisconsin, and one of my friends who lives there, his name is Kevin Hermaning. He was the youngest hostage taken when the embassy was seized by Khomeini. And if you ever think my resolve will bend in support of your resistance movement, I want you to come to Wisconsin and sit down with me and Kevin, and we'll talk. These are very serious matters. I spent my entire adult life as a United States Navy SEAL, and I have fought these terrorists that Iran has been sponsoring, and they're responsible for the deaths of many of my friends. It's a very sobering subject, but I want you to know, absolutely, unequivocally, without a doubt, I will stand with you and your people until Iran is a free nation again. May God bless you and your families.
راندی وبر. رژیم ایران اعدام مخالفین را فقط به خاطر ایجاد ترس افزایش داده است. شورای ملی مقاومت ایران برای ایجاد یک حکومت دموکراتیک و فراگیر می جنگد. تلاش برای ایران آزاد فقط مسئله ایران نیست. رویدادهای اخیر جهانی نشان داده که همه ما را تحت تأثیر قرار می دهد. بنابراین ما در کنار مریم رجوی می ایستیم تا مطمئن شویم که او برنامه 10 ماده خود را اجرا کند.
Well, look, we all know what's at stake here, so I want to address this matter regarding the Iranian regime. There's a murderous regime over in Iran that wants to press everybody down and kill people if they don't agree with them. So it's disheartening to note that amidst our celebrations, the Iranian regime persists in oppressing its own people and contributing to violence in the region that Pete talked about. And y'all know that. They contribute more violence than any other country in the world. And you know what? It's time that it stopped. Y'all agree? And as Congressman Sessions said, their violence is not confined to just the Persian regime, if you want to call region, if you want to call it that. You turn on the news, you witness the horrors and all of the things that have been happening by their proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Just today, the Navy had to respond to the Houthi rebels one more time. This has got to stop. For far too long, the citizens of Iran have had to endure a regime that is murderous, violent, and it's time for freedom in Iran. Sad to report, and y'all know this, that the regime has actually increased the number of executions that's going on, just solely to create fear and to kill people who disagree with them. Consider this. Last month alone, most of y'all probably know this, they executed 120 people. It's time. This has got to stop. This has got to stop. Do the math on that, 120 people in a month. Folks, that's 4 executions a day. That is 4 executions a day. How many of y'all were here in this very room last year when they had pictures of all those who were executed? Y'all remember that? Breaks your heart. Absolutely breaks your heart. It's got to stop. In my introduction, the lady said I was over in Paris, France. I got to meet with Miss Miriam Rajavi. And let me tell you something. She's the real deal. Would y'all agree? And it's about time we get her put in place. Talking about the executions, as many of y'all know, they've started the regime, the Iranian terroristic regime has started sham trials including the MEK today, 104 of those leaders are being put on trial in absentia. They're not even there, and they're still going after them. But I tell you what, when you talk with Miss Maryam Rajavi and when you see her how many of y'all have seen her 10-point plan? That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. The National Councils of Resistance of Iran, or NCRI, is in their endeavor to create a democratic and inclusive government where there is freedom. Would y'all enjoy freedom if you could get it over there? Absolutely. They've included that 10-point plan, which is the separation of church and state, it's got gender equality in it, it's got the protection of minority rights, and I could go right down the list. Y'all know this. The Iranian people have consistently demonstrated their desire for a brighter future, even at the cost and sacrifice of their lives. It's about time that ended, don't you think? It's about time that ended. We're going to end the Iranian terroristic regime and get that future for Iran that those people deserve. They have the right to enjoy the fundamental rights to freedom, religious liberty, however they want to practice it, without being threatened with the fear of death. Now is the time to hold the mullahs accountable and extend our support to the Iranian people for the pursuit of freedom with peace. We call the Christmas season the season of peace. What a contrast. There's never the season of peace over in Iran. It's a season of fear, tyranny, execution, and misery. Y'all agree? Come on. So it's time that we get together, the government, more and more pressure is brought to bear on the Iranian regime. The U.S. government needs to cut off any aid to Iran's regime. No money. I don't care what they say it's for, because you know they're going to take that money, they're going to use it for their military machine, they're going to use it to oppress people, they're going to use it to kill people and to export terrorism. It's time for that to stop. We need to impose more and more sanctions on that regime and hold them accountable for the killings not only inside Iran, but that's spreading throughout the regime, throughout the region. We've got to do that. The United States should lead the initiative to put the Ayatollah and his mullahs on trial for crimes against humanity, for crimes of genocide, international terrorism, and hostage-taking. It's time they lost their power. It's time they were held accountable for the murdering, vicious thugs that they are, and the United States needs to take the lead in doing that. In Congress, we've introduced several bills advocating for the safety, security, and rights of the Iranian people. Most recently, my fellow Texan Lance Gooden introduced House Resolution 627, which condemns the regime for the massacre of political prisoners in 1988. And I can do this without notes. What was it, Nasser, about 30,000 people, give or take? I mean, it's unbelievable how bad it has been and still continues to be. I'm proud to be an original co-sponsor of Lance Gooden's bill, which now includes more than half of the Texas delegation. There's 38 of us. Includes more than half of the Texas delegation alone. As of yesterday, with the addition of Congressman Russell Fry of South Carolina, we now have 136 co-sponsors from both sides of the aisle. So let me just tell you what y'all all know. The quest for a free Iran is not just an Iranian issue. As recent world events have demonstrated, it affects us all. We're all in this together. So as we gather today, let me tell you, this Congress, this congressman, our state, y'all, this group here, we're going to reaffirm our commitment to say we're going to stand with the Iranians, we're going to fight for freedom, we're going to fight for democracy and human rights. We're going to stand right solidly behind Maryam Rajavi and make sure she gets her 10-point plan in place. If we do that, Iran will have a brighter future. God bless y'all. Thank y'all for having us.
ریچارد مککورمیک ما از هر فرصتی استفاده می‌کنیم تا این حکومت را به تسلیم درآوریم و سرنگون کنیم تا آزادی برای همه حاکم شود.
It is a pleasure to be amongst friends. We have a common goal. We understand an evil theocracy that's caused hate and discontent all over the world is oppressing a very good people, our friends, those who are being held under the thumb of a small minority of violent people who would do harm, not just to an entire populace, but also to a gender. The people who have their rights smashed and subdued, the people who aren't able to speak and act freely. They use this same idea of God to spread violence and kill people all over the world. They use the idea of God to oppress, afflict, torture, kill, subvert governments, cause hate and discontent, divide people, divide races, divide genders. Know that you have a friend. Know that you have many friends. Know that we'll do whatever it takes, for however long it takes, to continue this fight, that we take every opportunity to subdue that government, to subvert that government, to overthrow that government until freedom reigns for all. We're on your side. Thank you.